Good afternoon and welcome to this weekly market update brought to you Treasury One, brought to you by Richard Cilliers and Andre Cilliers. Andre, new week, but we're back to the old habits of talking about the war. It's better part of 4 months now that we talking about the war in the Middle East, tensions between Iran and the US. It escalated again over in the past week. And over the weekend, there were some fresh attacks by the US and by Iran. Iran attacking some ships, the US attacking also some ships, and Iran also attacking some infrastructure in Kuwait. So, back to the old adage, the more things change, the more the world changes, the more the things stays the same. So, what is happening in the Middle East at this stage?
Good afternoon, Richard. I think, what's that nice two little words, deja vu? Nothing's actually changed. I mean, what actually changed was that in between the fighting, we had a quick decision that they'll have a truce and that they won't shoot and they won't kill and they won't escalate the fighting, and they will go into a 60-day of negotiations of ending it. Now we're into the 60 days is still there. We are still having discussions somewhere by some people, but in the meantime, we are just escalating our shooting and hitting targets and just stuffing up the world economy, having an impact on what we can expect from central banks, the impact on inflation, cost of energy, and so forth, is just right there where we were 4 months ago at the end of February when the first shots was fired. And at this point in time, I don't actually see an end to this at all. All I really see is that as this continues, almost in the same fashion as the war between Ukraine and Russia was done, in the sense that it started, everybody expected it to be over very quickly, and then it didn't stop quickly, and it just became part of the daily lives of people. And this very much starts taking that pattern. Just this time around, the impact on international economies is worse, and the impact on, as I say, inflation and world growth, economic growth, is worse than the Ukraine-Russian war. But no end to it at the moment, only people trying to circumvent the impact of it and trying to minimize the impact on oil prices and energy prices. As to the words of Mr. Trump, for instance, that maybe they should just take over the Strait of Hormuz and be compensated for running it and managing it, those things, and we've seen the impact of words is just adding to the turmoil that there is. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to that, other than say, we are back where we started at the end of February.
Yeah, Andre, and all of this is the impact of oil prices. Oil prices spiked up a bit, just below $80 a barrel. That all flows into inflation. That's a big talking point. That's been sticky around the US. And tomorrow we have US inflation coming out. And the expectations is it for June to come down, because we've seen the oil prices recover from the 120 back to the below 70. So gasoline prices and energy prices in the US is a lot lower. But that said, what will the impact of inflation be, and how does that influence interest rate decisions in the US?
Richard, yes. The lower than expected figure that is expected tomorrow is purely based on the decline in fuel prices with the subsequent impact on general energy prices in the US. At the same time, we must remember that they have had the World Cup there. Well, it's still ongoing. So the utilization of hotels, the usage of restaurants and other recreational stuff on that side was a lot higher than a month and 2 months before. That had an impact on prices. So a bit of a mixed bag, but overall the energy prices was the biggest decline, and that is set to have the bigger impact and the expectancy with inflation to be slightly lower. Having said that, at the same time, Mr. Walsh is having his first congressional testimony this week, first time that he speaks there. And it's going to be interesting to see what light is he shedding, how does he color in the path at that congressional testimony. We've grown accustomed to Mr. Powell's, but what is Mr. Walsh going to say? How is he going to play out the impact that we have already seen on monetary policy and higher inflation going forward, the impact of that, and especially now that the conflict is back onto the cards again. So it will be really, really interesting. My guess would be, as the market is expecting only a 25% increase, a chance of increase in interest rates, I would concur and agree with that, and that Mr. Walsh is going to come out and hint that interest rates will remain at elevated levels for longer. And that will have an impact on what can be expected then of the value of the dollar, how that could react. And I think there we could see the dollar sort of regaining a little bit of its strength, or keeping the little bit of strength that it's had in the last week after the war escalated again. And at the same time, also the possibility of funds flowing out of other markets back into the US because of interest rates that will be elevated at higher levels for a little bit longer.
Yes, Andre, in part and parcel that you spoke about dollar flows, in part and parcel that we've seen the rand just sort of trickle a little bit weaker on the back of the escalation of the war again. Actually quite resilient at this stage, just hovering here around 1640 currently. What is the expectation for the rand and the outlook currently for the local currency?
Well, the rand's been on the front foot for quite a while. And if you look at the external factors driving the rand, it was higher commodity prices, gold prices that was really well elevated for a long time, and that helped the rand. That boosted our exports, that boosted our current account, and that surplus of the current account now stands at 2.4% of GDP. You know, so all those factors boosted the rand for a heck of a long time, and even the war over the last 4 months did bring some tailwinds, headwinds for the rand, but not that much. The tailwinds was the ones that sort of supported it more on the higher commodity prices and exports and these things. The problem with the rand remains that domestically things are not lifting to the positive side of the rand. So nothing locally is actually supporting the rand that much that we can sit back and say this will continue indefinitely. So as the domestic side not bringing its side continuously sits in the background, it's my concern that at some point in time that could have a bit of an impact on the movement of the rand, and we could suddenly see that the rand sort of move out of this band. But for the moment, I'm still very happy with a 25.75 trading band, cautioning that there is the possibility because of domestic factors, and we've gone through those domestic factors last week. Still state enterprises that's not doing well. Mr. Godongwana that might have difficulty in sticking to fiscal discipline because there's so much demand for money. the foreigners that's still in the forefront, still not always welcome here in South Africa. If you look at some of the marches still going on, and that is putting pressure onto the fiscus continuously. So locally, my concerns that possibly there is a bit of headwinds from that end.
Andre, I say thank you for your time again. For everybody out there, have a wonderful week, and we'll be back next week again. Cheers for now.